Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. We're reporting from the ETSI NFV meeting number 8 here in Phoenix in Arizona. I'm talking with Diego Lopez from Telefonica. Diego is Head of Technology Exploration Global CTO Unit at Telefonica. Diego, good to see you again.
Hello.
All over the world, but this time...
We managed to meet in interesting places.
We do, and this is... Phoenix is pretty interesting, and the weather's good. Let's talk about what's happening with the ETSI NFV to begin with. Phase 1 ended yesterday or the day before yesterday, and Phase 2 began yesterday for certain, with discussions of what's going to happen next. I'd like to begin by looking back on Phase 1. Mm-hmm. Basically, NFV burst from almost nowhere to become very important in a very, very rapid time. And it's been quite a job managing that growth. How have you done that?
Oh, well, I hope that you is a plural you. I mean,
oh yes, of course, not you.
Yeah.
You as a group. Yeah.
No, I think that this has been a combination of the strong interest from the operator side, and not only from the operator side, from the parts of the industry. They were extremely eager and rushing to support the original idea. And then has been as well, those I would say the most incumbent industry that was really, I must acknowledge they were really flexible. And they accompany us in the adventure. And then if you take a group of people that is smart, and that very much focus on a particular idea, and that is an idea that they acknowledge is going to change the landscape. Mm. Well, you have a purpose, you have the means, you have the results.
Now, that management process is complete for Phase 1. Did Phase 1 exceed your expectations or fall below your expectations?
I mean, with the original expectations, probably when you start with anything, is something that you expect to be. But I would say that being realistic, it has exceeded our expectations. We have accomplished to set the basic principles and the essential framework for what I do believe is going to be a real revolution in the telco industry. We have managed to do so in less than 2 years, because we count 2 years, but well, we are not at the end of the year, no. And we didn't start at the very, very beginning of the year. So it has been less than 2 years, and we have created a common understanding and a common momentum in the industry for change. For sure, there is a lot to do, but the accomplishment is, I think it's extremely remarkable.
Okay, now, that's the upside of the equation. What about the downside? Are there any particularly difficult problems or challenges that haven't been met in Phase 1 that are being carried over into Phase 2? Because now we're moving from the informative phase to the normative phase, so there's a considerable structural difference.
Yes, and we have been discussing about this during these days, and we will keep on discussing along the rest of the week. That for sure, when you are doing something that is informative, that you're agreeing on the principles, you're agreeing in the great picture, things are much easier to agree. And in spite of that, I can tell you discussions have been extremely strong. I'm under the impression that the times that we have ahead will be more difficult. The agreement will be much more difficult, because we will be talking about real meat and the real business value of the issues. And in some cases, it's true that we have moved forward things just to say, well, let's progress, let's make the general agreement, let's build the framework, let's agree on the basement. And now we have to finish, and we have to decide the color of the windows, and that can be, extremely complicated. But at least we are aware of it.
Okay, right. So, looking forward, the NFV ISG has a new 2-year lease of life. It's been extended by 2 years, mm-hmm. and may well go beyond that. There's no indication that it may not. So you have another 2-year period in which to get things right. But in the immediate future, you have to decide from this event here, some 40 different items to be agreed and prioritized. Can you do it in time?
At least I hope that we will identify the ones with the highest priorities. I think that this is a general agreement of which one they are. Roughly speaking, I would say that there is consensus on, let's say, 80% of the 10 more, urgent things to address. And the idea is to start working from this moment on. It's not to wait till we have a full-fledged and completely finished structure, or we have discussed to all detail all the proposed work items. It's about to identify them and to go on and start working in that very moment, so we can have results. The initial commitment is to start. We have some initial release of the most urgent items by June next year.
Right.
So that means that we have 8 months. If you put aside the holidays, etc., we're talking 6 months at most.
Yes,
This is
it's
pressing.
It is a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Can we talk about the reference laboratory for a moment? We spoke about this before in the past when we met previously. How's it going, and have you had any results from that yet?
Yeah, exactly. We have 2 things that we are very glad of. One is a long queue of different VNFs and technologies waiting for evaluation and to see how we can first incorporate in our vision and our plans for virtualization, and second, how they perform according to our needs. And we have started to deliver results to our business units, to communicate then the first measurements and the first deployments we have made inside the lab, so they have a reliable and well-focused source of information about what the market is beginning to offer. We want to, is something that we insist very much, which is a no-nonsense approach to how to start applying NFV technologies inside the real operator's life.
That leads us directly on to proofs of concept, POCs as everybody calls it, PRCs. There are a lot of them now out there, and the whole of the theory of NFV is being stress tested in proof of concept. I know there are also some limited commercial applications, but they tend at the moment to be limited and quite small. How long, Diego, do you think it will be before we see full-scale proper field trials, which will stress NFV's capabilities even more, and then moving on to full-scale commercial deployment?
Well, again, we have this this field scale running in Brazil.
Yeah.
So we have one. I think that there are some other operators that are starting to move in that direction. There are claims, something that is very interesting is that now people are claiming things that were called in a different way some time ago. Now they are claimed to be NFV, and this is good, because if everybody the baby, when everybody wants the baby to look like the part that this part of the family or the other part of the family is, because the baby is
absolutely
is nice.
Yeah.
And so pure NFV, and let me insist, pure NFV according to all the principles here, etc. I think that we are still starting with it. So probably along the coming year, we will start seeing those full-fledged field trials with all the requirements of the NFV architecture.
Now then, you're an operator. You have a big job in that operator. What do you see working in your daily job? The impact that the ISG NFV work is having on the industry overall. How important is it, and what's happened as a result of it?
As I said before, it's something that now people are sticking the NFV label in many products that they were trying to solve with different arguments before. And this is a very good sign. And this is on the one hand. Second is that we are perceiving a growing interest among units. We have not even contacted for this. We have inside Telefonica, we have started something that we call the NFV Council, that is led by my boss, precisely, in which we are trying to spread the word about NFV, to contact and collect the needs of our business units, and try to align them with our roadmap in the lab and in research, etc. And the curious thing is that we initially started by chasing. We were chasing the different business units. Hey, come, we have something that is very, very nice. Good donuts during the free coffee. Come to the meeting. Not any longer. Now the point is a little bit on the other side. We are getting contacts, or we are being contacted by other business units or units inside the company because they have heard about this, they want to learn more, they want to see whether it would be applicable to their short-term or mid-term plans. So we are witnessing the maturity, well, probably not the maturity, maybe we are entering the teenage of the technology.
Adolescence.
Yes, adolescence, yes.
Okay. Now, the three things that go together with NFV are standards, openness, standards, and interoperability. And these seem to be not the main sticking points, but solutions are needed to accommodate all those three things. And they all seem to be sort of completely bound together. So you don't know whether to start with interoperability or standards, but let's begin with openness. NFV has been predicated from the start on the concept of openness. We've seen in recent months more and more people, more and more standards bodies, as it were, claiming to be open and referring to openness. Yeah. Is that because people are jumping on the bandwagon? They see the juggernaut now rolling and think we should be there. So what I'm trying to get at is this useful or is it potentially inhibiting?
The openness, you mean? I think that in the world we're living right now, openness, the possibility of offering the widest community possible, the possibility to contribute is something that we have got used to that. I still remember, I'm old enough to remember when ETSI was founded, or about, well, a few years after it was funded, in which it was restricted to by what was then called the PTTs. And because it was something, well, it is my country, it is my business, nobody has to tell me anything about that, and this is a closed club. This has evolved so much that now we have the ISG, among other reasons, because we can have non-ETSI members contributing. And I think that has helped very much, precisely, to the results and the success of the NFV initiative. And I'm seeing these signs in many other places, and I think it's by definition, it's good to have more voices. It's more difficult to manage. You had to distinguish between the valuable voice from noise, but the result is worth.
And is the movement towards interoperability now unstoppable? There's no roadblocks in the way. There are no particular companies that are saying, well, we can't, or factions or interests that are...
Well, there is always this struggle between the short-term profit that you can see by having something that is only yours and trying to siloing it, etc. That's true. The temptation is strong. The point is that precisely this wider community helps in fighting that. Even having this as a temptation, because if you are being accused of trying to silo in someone, it's very hard right now, so you have to be careful about that. And this is something that is, again, openness helps in the direction of interoperability as well in that respect.
A final question to you. One of the most fascinating things about NFV and ETSI's involvement and so on is that there are now 37 telcos, telecoms operators around the world who are members of this interest group, and that must be having a profound effect upon the direction of the discourse and the debate, because in the past we've never seen, or very, very rarely, we've ever seen so many operators working together in one confine of a standards body. How important is that, and are all the operators working together? Do they have a common vision, or is it still regionally different?
Well, I'd say we share a common vision. There are differences because, for example, just the regulatory landscape is not the same here in the US than in Europe, for example. Yeah. The commercial landscape is not the same. The short-term goals may differ, but I think that the common vision, the idea that we want to go into a revolution of how we build and think about networks is clear. The general principles are agreed, and whenever there have been some fresh ideas, doubts, whatever, we have been discussing about them, and we have found this common ground in which we all feel comfortable. Probably it's not the perfect ground, but it's common and comfortable enough. And we're moving that, and again, we see a value on this, and whenever we meet, this is a positive feedback in the sense that you see a value, and then that helps in building the next consensus.
Well, we'll see what happens at number 9. We've got to get through 8 first, and it's only just started. But people are already looking forward to the next one, when more substantial work will have been done. Until then, and I hope we meet again then, Diego Lopez, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Jim.